Mr Speaker, I move that this bill be read a second time and I commend it to the House. And I've just been listening to the debate from the members opposite who have been trying to tell this House how amazing the scheme was, but they don't have an answer to the key question, one of the key questions here. How are they going to pay for it? There's a $300 million hole that has been created by that government, $300 million hole created by that government of rebates being paid out over and on top of taxes being collected, and they have no answers as to how they're going to pay for it. And that is just what? Show us the money. Show us the money. They don't know where the money's coming from, and it just shows. It just says to the shows the New Zealand public how much they don't care when it comes to fiscal responsibility. And that is why on October the 14th, New Zealanders voted for the National Party, the ACT Party and the New Zealand First Party to get this country back on track, to fix the fiscal situation facing New Zealand. And this is only one of many fiscal holes left behind by the last government. And so, as I outlined in my first speech on the first reading of this piece of legislation, the amount paid out in rebates has been $579 million, $13.5 million to administer the scheme, Mr Speaker, while only $290 has been received from charges, leaving a hole of $302.5 million for taxpayers, hard-working taxpayers, to foot the bill. And I ask the members opposite when they make their next speeches, what would their plan be if they were to keep this, and would they be increasing the taxes even further on utes? Is that the option they'd be taking? Is that the option they'd be picking? Would they be? Would they say, "Oh no, we're going to"? The Greens say yes. The Greens are very keen on more taxes on utes. They want to tax our farmers and tradies. They hate the farmers. The Greenies hate the farmers. They want our farmers gone. That is exactly what the Green Party wants. They hate our farmers here in New Zealand, and that is they hate the productive part of our economy, which is absolutely appalling. On this side of the House, we back our farmers in New Zealand. That's why we're passing a range of policies to help support our farmers here in New Zealand. So what they do? Well, the Greens they'd increase the Ute Tax. They think what, $10,000, $20,000 for a Ute Tax? They'd probably go higher. The Labor Party, would they reduce the EV subsidy? Would they reduce the EV subsidy, which would make the scheme more ineffective? Or would they just say we'll put more taxpayer funding into that? Well, I'm sorry to tell the Labor Party, but they have left the government books in an absolute mess. But their answer would be to borrow more money from future generations to subsidise people who can already afford to buy these cars and who will continue to buy these cars and who don't need a subsidy. That would be the choice that the Labor Party would be facing. On this side of the House, we see this as a fiscally irresponsible scheme. It is inequitable for our farmers, our tradies, people with larger families needing to buy larger cars to be able to transport their children to and from school and do the things that they need to do. We actually think this scheme needs to go, and that is what this piece of legislation does. But we're also confident. We're confident that there will continue to be an increased uptake of electric vehicles in New Zealand, and that is because car manufacturers around the world are switching from ICE vehicles to electric vehicles and hybrids and other low-emission technology. Battery technology is continuing to advance rapidly and at pace, and those are the types of vehicles which will be imported to New Zealand, and the choices will be made available to New Zealanders. And we are confident that uptake will continue, and we will support that uptake by continuing to invest in the electric vehicle charging network which New Zealanders need to have the confidence to be able to buy these vehicles, to be able to get past the range anxiety, which is one of the biggest inhibitors for people actually purchasing an electric vehicle. And we're going to supercharge that investment by supporting the private sector through deregulation, where there is regulation with barriers which get in the way, by providing support to ensure that we can actually get that supercharging going. That is what the role of government is to do, invest in the infrastructure that we need, rather than just in subsidies and cash being paid out, which is what the ideological approach, the failed ideological approach of the former government on the other side of the House. Madam Speaker, this bill, which repeals Labor's regressive Ute Tax, inequitable Ute Tax scheme, is now before Parliament, ready to be passed into law to end the Ute Tax on the 31st of December 2023. Happy New Year to our farmers and tradies who have been punished by the former government. This government was elected with all three parties, National, ACT and New Zealand First, committing to the repeal of the Ute Tax as part of our coalition agreement, and this bill gives effect to that as part of our 100-day plan. And I want to acknowledge the ACT Party for their coalition agreement on this and the support of New Zealand First as well on this particular piece of legislation. As I've said in my other reading speeches on this particular piece of legislation, this policy which was put in place by the prior government was fiscally irresponsible, a $300 million deficit left behind by the previous government. It was inequitable by taking money from people who have very little or no choice as to what type of vehicle they can use and giving money to people who can already afford to buy EVs. This policy is something that this side of the House does not support. It also would constantly require changes which impacts the car industry and car market significantly, creating uncertainty in the market which is unnecessary. Madam Speaker, the National Party and the ACT parties and the New Zealand First Party are proud to stand here repealing this piece of legislation. We know that there will continue to be an increased uptake of electric vehicles as more and more car manufacturers produce more and more electric vehicles and bring them into New Zealand, and we will continue to invest in the electric vehicle charging infrastructure to support this uptake over time. Madam Speaker, I commend the bill to the House.